you have the transition. Your background is fabulous too, Roger, in terms of the old world and where we're transitioning.
Yeah, well, the See Beyond, I like the title of your show, so I've intentionally put this up because I think we need to see beyond fossil fuel, not necessarily see beyond engines, and we can talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can of course edit this intro here, but I mean sometimes it's just nice to get this chit chat too. But
anyhow, no, you go with the flow. I'll go with the flow.
So yeah, we can get started here, and so welcome to the See Beyond show. I'm your host Mika Tienhara. Today out of Sweden, actually, close to Trollhättan, Roger, by all places. So which is nice. A bit familiar to you. So
well, yeah, Volvo, Saab, all those wonderful companies. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's wonderful to have you on the show, Roger. And perhaps you want to give us a quick brief on your background and where you're heading.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, I do like our friends in Scandinavia. You know, you guys live in sometimes challenging, situations in regard to the climate, the weather. And I think there's always been something very interesting about the Norwegians and about the Swedes, and of course about the Finns. You have an extraordinary place in the world in a number of particular sports and things. Motorsport in particular, I'm a big fan of motorsport, but my journey has been all in automotive for many years, the last 15 in electric vehicles. And I share that kind of experience, if you like, that knowledge, experience, contacts, and weave it all into an ongoing story on LinkedIn, where I've got a few followers along the way, which has been useful because it's given me access, because I've got that following, to lots of interesting things and people, which helps with the content. So it all kind of, comes together quite nicely. It's quite, what's that wonderful word? Symbiotic.
Yeah. Wonderful. No, I think, of course, innovating and when we change our societies and technology, innovate everything, I mean, you have to collaborate. You have to, it's still human interaction, right? So, I mean, doing it by yourself, that won't get you very far, I would say.
It absolutely won't. And again, I'm not going to try and be a motorsport guy all the way through this talk, because I like watching racing, 2 wheels, 4 wheels. I do like watching racing, but I'm not going to pretend to be an aficionado. I'm not a highly technical observer of any of the motorsports. I just like watching fast, think people driving things fast. But your point about not working on your own, because I live in Brackley, which is the home of, over the years, various Formula One teams. When Ross Brawn was running a team, he came to one of my children's sort of sixth form leaving events, and he had a little talk. And he said in that talk to all of the kids there, I say kids, they were like 18, you will never achieve anything in life on your own. You will only do it in a team. It might be a team of 2, it might be a team of thousands, but it will be in a team. And please, if you go away into life from here with anything you remember from what I'm saying, it's this: teamwork is everything. And team, he then explained, was he said it's an acronym as well. If you think about it, together, everyone achieves more. And it really resonated with my son and all of his friends, and resonated with me, to be honest with you, Mika. And sometimes these things that are obvious, people say, well, yeah, of course that's true. Well, knowing it's true and actually behaving in that way are sometimes 2 different things. So yeah, asking for help, working with people, achieving things collaboratively, absolutely what it's always been about, and definitely what it always will be about.
Yeah, I mean, just look, that's a nice point. And of course, it's just to consider the word company. It doesn't, that means you're doing something together with someone else. It's not alone. Yeah. So, but
yeah,
then,
yeah, good point. I mean, that's one of the things I think we've all had quite an experience this last year on, in that we've actually had to do a lot more things on our own because we've been in lockdown, at home, either, for a lot of people, literally on their own, or if you're in a family unit, yes, you've got other people around, but a lot of work has gone into the digital arena and has been people on their own, looking at a computer screen, on their own, and you've had to adapt your psychology to that, and a number of things to sort of not go mad, and try and make the best of it, and do what you can. Of course, that's not the case for everybody. A lot of people's jobs are manual, they're physical, they have to go somewhere and do it. Or in hospitality, running a bar, all those sort of things. So it's not been for everybody, that journey, of course, but
Sure.
I think for you and I, it has been.
Yeah, but of course, you can talk about Zoom fatigue or whatever, but of course, there's a lot of job meetings, the interaction happening that way. But I think also, well, it's a way to reach out to other people. And I think this type of talks, discussions are also then helping and useful, not to just keep it to the project or deliverables, but talk about topics and see, okay, where are we heading in the future? And your background, I mean, we have a bit of similar background in terms of the automotive side. And actually talking about race drivers, I am having an interview or talk later this week with a young talent from UK.
Oh.
So
Wow.
So
wow,
I have
cool.
that too. But let's say, I mean, of course, we've grown up with, let's say, automotive, internal combustion engines. I've stepped into the EV world myself. I think we even drive the same car, you and me.
Sure, a Jaguar I-Pace.
Yes, a blue one.
Oh, I love it.
I
love it.
Yeah. So, of course, looking at your background there, this old world, and my background, see beyond. Where are we actually heading in the world of transportation? And
it's a very big question, isn't it, Mika?
yes.
Massive question. I think it's important sometimes to not just find yourself in a kind of flow, in a kind of river with a strong current, where you're just going along with everything and everyone else. And for example, just saying, well, it's all about electric vehicles, all about battery electric vehicles. That's what it's all about. It's very easy to take that view, but I think there's a lot more to it than that. The potential of shifting to using things rather than owning things, that could be a massive shift all over the world. And it will happen more in some places than others, because what I mean by that, in many countries and cultures, that's always been the case. Yeah. Because of economic, the economic reality, people have to share. They've got no choice. But for a lot of people on the planet, and you can see this in a metric called motorization per thousand of the population. Mm-hmm. So for example, 860 or something people in America out of 1,000 have a car. But then in India, it's something like 22 out of 1,000 own a car. Now, you kind of think, how did that happen? What does that mean? What happens next? So there's a bit of that thought in this kind of flow towards just switching over to battery electric vehicles. The other thing is we have over 1 billion combustion engine vehicles on the planet. And how do we make the transition? How will this happen logistically? How will all of this come together? And so the reason why I put this petrol pump up here is actually because I've been reading a lot recently, quite interesting papers, white papers and other things about synthetic fuels.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? Well, I'm no engineer. All I know about it is it's a way of, not with all synthetic fuels, but the ones I'm interested in, moving totally away from fossil fuels, from oil derivatives, but into other energy form factors that can then be used as synthetic fuels within combustion engine vehicles.
Yes.
And I think for a lot of people, that sounds very confusing, because it's a bit like, well, hang on a second. I thought we're about to get rid of the internal combustion engine car. Yeah. Well, think about what the real issue is here. It's not necessarily the engine or the combustion process or all of those things. It's what's gone into it and what comes out of it. The fossil fuel element. And that for sure we have to, diminish as much as possible and potentially totally remove. but we have to be careful what we wish for, and we have to avoid having a kind of zero-sum approach to all of this, not just in automotive, in many things, and kind of, what's that phrase, throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know? So that's why I put this up. It's energy-dense fossil fuel is extraordinary. It's amazing.
Oh, yes.
You know, dead dinosaurs, whatever you want to call it. Of course, it's extraordinary stuff. It's ancient solar energy that over many years has been compacted and then through the process of refining turned into these, you know, extraordinary things which have served us well up to a point in the journey of the 21st century, particularly. But, you know, let's call it the Industrial Revolution. So I include coal in that, coal and oil and gas. However, you know, nobody at the time quite realized or projected forward, with so many more people and so much more of this stuff extracted and burnt and put into the atmosphere, the unimaginable consequence that it would have. But we do imagine that now. We know it well. We even have school children in Scandinavia who actually tell all the educated people who think they know everything, it's a few home truths. You know who I'm talking about. Of course you do. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not a contrarian. I don't like thinking, oh, let's just be awkward. But let's look at it carefully and holistically.
Yeah. No, but I think, I mean, I believe with the synthetic, I mean, Porsche also said that they would invest in this, and because there is a, let's say, take care of your own fleet, and of course Porsche has, well, I would believe one of the automotive brands with the most or highest share of cars still on the roads, actually. So
yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, all those amazing classic cars. So yes, so to be specific, in terms of synthetic fuels, I'm not saying that's what we'll do instead of battery electric vehicles. Not saying that at all. What I'm saying is it potentially has what could be very big but niche market applications in motorsports, classic cars, you know, off-highway, agricultural, a number of areas where the challenge for a battery is a lot more, you know, is a lot more difficult.
Oh, yeah,
so
sure. I mean,
that's why I referenced it.
It's like, I mean, you say 1 billion vehicles on the roads with internal combustion engine. I mean, it's a huge issue we have to solve. It's not like telling everyone to, okay, from tomorrow, you just have to leave it there. I mean, so there, of course, EVs, great. And I think also there's always counter forces. I mean, you have to look at challenge. Yeah, what can you do with technology or innovation in that sense? And the future is always uncertain what happens. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question then, Mika. Where in automotive do you think the most innovative engineers and the most leading edge technology is employed? What part of the automotive or motorsport industry are those people based?
Where they're based. I mean, innovation. I think this is a difficult question. I mean, I would say, you know, for me, like I look at companies like Rimac, for instance. I think done a lot of innovation, and of course Tesla and Elon Musk, what kind of came in as from the outside, and just taking EVs to that level. But I think you know, traditional companies, they are always a bit behind because they think, okay, let the new guys, kids try out something, but maybe not much happening. But motorsports, I mean, is also interesting, of course, what they try to bring in as new technology, new propulsion systems, etc. So I think there's probably various islands in terms of that.
Well, in my view, to answer my own question, thank you for that.
Go ahead.
That sense. Formula One.
Yeah.
Formula One is the pinnacle of automotive engineering. It always has been. And the reason it has been is because it has a lot of money. It has big budgets. And why does it have that? Well, because Formula One is a globally successful motorsport series over a very long time. And because of that, the advancements in technology, I think, not just with internal combustion engines, but increasingly now with power in general, including batteries, of course, because for many years, I think since 1996, I think that far back, we've had KERS, we've had energy recovery, harvesting kinetic energy, and harvesting that, of course, into a battery. I think this is where, personally, I think that we should help the people in Formula One, not because we're taking pity on them, but with this journey to vehicle electrification, I think there's a big opportunity there to embrace the extraordinary capability within Formula One to help us in both the electric vehicle journey and different forms of non-fossil fuel combustion technology.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. I think it's an amazing, let's say, very area with high density in terms of innovation and knowledge space there. And you know, I just binge watched the Drive to Survive Netflix.
So did I. How long did it take you to watch all 10?
2 days. I was through with that. 2 days.
That's me. So this is series 3, isn't it? So you've watched the first 2 series. Yeah, same for me. I started on Friday night. I think it was about 8 o'clock in the evening. I went to bed about 2 o'clock in the morning. And then on Saturday in the afternoon, I think I watched 1 or 2. And then Saturday night, I watched whatever I'd got left. But all 10. Oh, isn't it amazing? Isn't it a great series?
It's fantastic. I mean, dude, wow, just fantastic. I'm kind of good to, let's say, and now the F1 season starts. So it's kind of good warm up to see the previous season in with those insights. So I love it. But let's go back to EVs, and you know, like in the Nordic countries, look at the EV battery plants popping up now. You have Northvolt with the engagement of Volkswagen. Then you have in Norway, you have Freyr, you have Morrow coming up. You have Beyonder, and what else? I mean, Panasonic looking into a battery plant. You have the Germany, France, UK with recent announcements. So a lot of these, they seem to pop up like mushrooms now. The battery plants. What?
Yeah. Well, they are. Well, they are. Well, look, Volkswagen's Power Day last week, they announced 6 gigafactories at 40 gigawatts apiece, 240 gigawatts output of batteries in those factories. That is a huge amount. You know, it's hard to reconcile some of these numbers sometimes because they're all relatively new metrics to people, especially in automotive. But put it very simply, it's as much as what goes on in the world today and some. So where there is concern now, I think, is that if we really want to switch totally from making, what do we make a year? Something like 70, 80 million cars a year are made around the planet. If we want to switch all of those to electric vehicles, we're going to need so much gigafactory capacity and battery capability, of course, the same thing. And, you know, I wonder if anyone's actually done the sums, Mika, to say, well, is that possible? You know, have we got enough mines in operation or mines in prospect or mineral capacity or mineral processing capacity? Because what a lot of people don't realize, I have only realized the last couple of years when I've, you know, learned about it, that a lot of these minerals have to go through quite some mineral processing activity to have them ready of the right grade and quality to go into electric vehicle batteries. So to your point about all this activity in the Nordics, etc., well, that's partly because you've got access, particularly in places like Norway, to you know, benign energy. You need a lot of energy for a gigafactory to make it, you know, to make it run. All seems ironic, really, given they're there to make energy storage devices. And then, of course, at the other end, you need customers. You need people who are going to buy these batteries, you know, in whatever number. So it's a real calculation now, a real challenging kind of business plan to say, when do we build the factory? Where do we get the raw materials, the food stock? And then when we've made the batteries, who's going to buy them? And we've got to align those 3 things in a way in which it adds up. And oh, and by the way, typically we've got to spend about 2 or 3 billion euros to make each one of these gigafactories. You know, man, it's like, whoa, this is a big job.
Oh, it is, and it takes years to get there, definitely. But
Yeah, yeah.
and of course, I mean, a lot of processing goes into this, and knowledge, and developing probably new type of process technology. And at the same time, I mean, I've read the reports. Okay, will we have all those minerals, or is it yeah, we will never get to that level. So, but I think innovation comes in again. We find new ways. Okay, can we use other metals and minerals, etc., and what type of batteries, etc. So
Well,
it's
here's an idea for you,
lighter
Mika.
development.
Here's,
Yeah,
here's an idea for you. What if it didn't need a battery at all?
yeah,
An electric vehicle.
exactly.
This is me playing a game, so forgive me. So here's something I like to share with people, and I'll explain. Well, let me tell you, I'm on the advisory board of a wireless charging company. Let me hold my hand up and say that straight away. So I am totally biased in what I'm about to say. Of course I am. But the first principle of an electric vehicle, you could argue, is that it is propelled. It moves with the electric motor and an electron. It doesn't run on a battery, it runs on an electron. The feed that goes in that makes it all whiz round is an electron into an electric motor. So the battery is simply the storage device, which we choose at this time to put all of it together and all of it on a vehicle. Anything from 30 or 40 kilowatt hours to a 90 or 100 kilowatt hours, or even bigger with bigger vehicles. And then we move that vehicle around with all those electrons stored on board, with all the weight of that and the cost, etc. That's what we do. But if we think about the first principle of the EV, which is it runs on electrons, not on a battery, what if we could feed those electrons a little and often into the electric motor so that then we don't have to carry around all the energy on it? And this is where wireless charging comes in.
Sure.
So, for example, in Oslo, and COVID keeps delaying all the things that we were hoping to have it up and running well before now. But of course, COVID's delayed many things. But come, where are we? April, May. It'll be May now. In May, we will have 25 Jaguar I-Pace taxis, like your car and mine, running on wireless charging, around 50 to 60 kilowatt hour charge, as they wait for a customer at a taxi rank.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Exactly. But I think, and that shows let's say, the future, also the directions. I think we are, let's say, taking it stepwise. Of course, when you carry all those kilograms of batteries, I mean, it's very inefficient to propel a vehicle. If you can get rid of it, of course, it gets much more efficient.
Yes.
So of course, I think, well, let's do those with the energy stored on the vehicle in the next phase. But I think also we're moving into something else later on. Yeah.
Look,
and maybe it's going quite quickly too.
Yeah, well, the intriguing thing is, engineers and people who innovate and all of that, their imagination is boundless. When people say there are laws, but there are laws of physics. There's the periodic table. There's all these sort of dynamics and realities and laws that mean we can only do certain things and certain things are impossible. Well, I'm definitely not an engineer or a particularly intellectual person, but I know from watching different things that Albert Einstein, when he was around, he started saying things that people said was heresy. Like, what you're saying goes against Newton's principles, and Newton is the king of the world in terms of physics. And so how can it possibly be that you're suggesting that one of his laws isn't necessarily, either correct or can be broken? And so you need people to come along like that, who challenge what everyone says is not possible and does it. I mean, a case in point is, up until what, let me think, was it 3, 4, 5 years ago? If you'd said to anybody in the world, let alone anybody at NASA or any other space company, that you could land a rocket back on the ground intact to save a huge amount of money, that you could have the technology to do that without it blowing up or whatever, they would have laughed at you. They would have said, look, focus on something else, because what you're talking about is impossible. Yeah. But we now see it every day. It's not even news anymore. you know, it doesn't even make the news, but this is something which is profound.
Yeah.
The ability to land a rocket back on the bloody ground. It's madness, but it works. So, and again, listeners will know, and you know, who was responsible for that. You know, the guy that is an enigma. You know, on the one hand, he's a visionary, you know, brilliant engineer, all these other things. On the other hand, he's mad, you know, and he does crazy things, sometimes what look like stupid things, you know, but this is what the world needs. It needs people like that, the people that are, you know, the crazy people. There was an Apple advert, maybe you remember it, many years ago, called Here's to the Crazy People. And it went through all of these people in human history that changed things. And they were all mad. They were all a bit odd. You know, it's never a normal person that makes a big difference. You know, you and I have got no chance because we're sort of kind of normal, aren't we?
Too normal, yeah. You need a bit of madness, definitely.
You definitely do.
Yeah, that needs to be part of the DNA. And
yes,
that's, of course. So I think also like, well, I think the possibilities today, as you know, you graduate, you make university or not, but you can start your own company, and let's say there's of course all these accelerators in school kind of trying to forge the successful entrepreneur and startup people, but I think what you can't really get in those is that piece of madness. I mean, you have to carry it with you or have a co-founder who's kind of have those visions, etc. You have to challenge the truth and come up with new things. There's so many possibilities today. Definitely. Yes. I think like another guest I had a few weeks back, Sandy Monroe, also said that, I mean, he wished he was young today because there's so much going on, everything at one go. Yeah.
Yeah. He is, what a lovely man he is, and what a smart guy. Did you see his interview, his discussion with Elon Musk?
Yeah. I did. Yeah.
Do you know what I loved about that so much was the mutual respect between the two of them. That's the fact that, you know, he knows a lot. Well, he's an engineer. He knows a lot more than I do. I couldn't hold a candle to any of that stuff. But what I just liked about it was his knowledge about it. He was a bit starstruck with Elon. There's no doubt about that. But he didn't let that get in the way. And I thought it was one of the most interesting conversations between Elon Musk and someone else that I've seen in a very, very long time. Yeah. Because it was anchored around a lot of, you know, as some people call it geeky, but the engineering aspects of things. And I thought it was, you know, and it was perfectly polite, and he didn't say it in the wrong way. When he was talking to him about, well, Elon, what about, you know, really basic things like the manufacture of the vehicle, the body in white challenge that clearly you've got, you know, the fit and finish, all of door panels, all this stuff. You know, it was almost like, I think it was a comment on YouTube, if I'm honest, I'm not saying this, I think I read it somewhere, where someone said this was like watching Elon has his annual review with his boss.
Oh, what a comment. Yeah.
It was a great, it wasn't my comment. I wish it was my comment. It was on YouTube. Someone had said that. This was like watching a film of someone having their annual review.
It's like, okay, hello, let's go through the checklist here and see what
what you did right, what you did wrong. You know, where'd you see yourself in 3 years, Elon Musk?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, on the way to Mars.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. No, it's so great to talk with you, Roger. I mean, there's a lot of topics here, but and you see, I mean, the world is evolving. We get new knowledge. We get, let's say, also like Sandy. I mean, in his 70s and going strong. So, I mean, we need to carry that knowledge with us also into the future. There's so much learning and profound knowledge, like you said.
Yes, well, going back to what we began talking about, you know, energy and focus and enjoying your work, and if you're lucky, working for yourself, etc. I've found, I'm 62 now, I've never worked as hard as I work now. I've never enjoyed the work that I do more, and the thought of retiring never, it doesn't enter my head.
No.
You know, because I kind of think, retiring from what? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Yes, spend time with, you know, your partner or your family, etc. If you've got grandchildren, of course, have time for them. And that balance in life does change and whatever. But as long as physically and mentally you're able to keep up the pace. Actually, I think working for much longer helps you stay kind of fitter and sort of younger in mind. Obviously,
Yes.
you're still old, whether you like it or not. So yeah, I take my hat off to Sandy, and I'd love to think that when I'm that age, I'm doing what I do now. You know, I will be very happy if that's the case. You know, like a lot of people that we all admire, you know, people in sports and people then perhaps who sadly get an illness, and obviously we've had a lot of people on that journey this last year, but who don't then get to do everything. You know, it's like someone like dying whilst they're singing on stage because they didn't stop, and they're 90-year-old opera singer, or you know, that's the way they want to go. They don't want to go in some other fashion, in not a nice situation, which in truth is how most of us will end our days. But if you can end it doing what you want, what you love, that's fine by me. If I get to be, I would be quite happy if I got to be 80 years old. And if 80 years old, during a Zoom call with my friend Mika or somebody else, I just suddenly went,
Okay.
would be fine.
That's the end of Roger's life. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it would be a bit difficult
to the last
to
second.
end it.
Yeah. No, sure. No, but let's just kidding. But no, sure. I think it's amazing. I mean, these possibilities to that today, you can keep on being active. There's nothing prohibiting you. If you are, let's say, physically, mentally can keep up the work, etc. I mean, and I think it's good because so much going on and happening. It's exciting. It's fun. And I can join your chant there that, I mean, I enjoy work and I'm working more than ever. And it's okay, home office, etc. But it's so much going on all the time. Difficult to stop. Yeah.
Well, look what's going on all the time here. I'll just show you actually, just say, oh no, they're gone. No, the dogs are at the door. I was going to show you the dogs, but I don't need to do that now. They've gone.
But all the other systems, I hear my emails are Teams beeping, WhatsApp. It's so much noise all the time.
Yeah,
going on.
How do you balance your time then, Mika? How do you, you know, given you're your own boss, how do you kind of structure a day or whatever, your week? How do you do that, just out of interest?
I mean, for me, of course, because I run a company and as a CEO, so of course, for me, the morning hour is important, just to kind of take it easy, enjoy a cup of coffee, maybe look at the nature out of my window here, look at the sea, think a little bit about various things, and before I jump into action, maybe clear my thoughts also, that what I need to achieve during the day. And then of course, you know, you can't always steer it, but it can be days packed with meetings. But then of course you need to balance that, so that it can be that these days, of course, maybe have a break middle of the day, go for a walk or jog like I do many times. And
that's what I do with the dogs. Yeah.
And the dogs. Yeah, I have a dog myself. But also family time is important. Enjoy the dinner time together with family. And make that like a small feast if you can. That's what I enjoy. And many times I have one, I have 3 teenagers, but the oldest one, he's 18. Many times I end up working late evenings with US and North America. He comes in to me, Dad, let's talk about entrepreneurship. Could I be someone who can build a company? So kind of, then we have nighttime talks about this. It's so enjoyable. So it keeps on going like that. But you need to sleep certain hours, but have some balance, some time in the nature. But I like to be connected and work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what about the weekend? How does your weekend sometimes become a bit like the week, or are you strict with that?
Well, let's say that it's not operative, but it's more strategic. I would say that, okay, go down in intensity, think about the big issues. What did we achieve? What's coming up next? Are we doing the right things? Are we following our strategy? Do we need to do something? So a bit, let's say, the soft side and soft thinking, maybe, in that sense. And then because you can't go around 7 days a week operations. I need to get my guys also to have a rest. I can't pester them all weekend. So I think, okay, I try to look at those other aspects, and Monday morning, okay, let's get going again. Hard work.
Yes. Do you know my first experience of a startup? I'd worked for 10 years for Audi and in various jobs, and then and before that, Volvo and Saab. Saab, honestly, I loved that company. I had a Saab.
Fabulous. Yes.
And I loved that car so much.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, what I was saying was, my first experience of a startup was a bit of a shock, because I had a bit of a journey to go there every day. I left Audi after 10 years and went to work for Virgin, for Richard Branson, for Virgin Cars, it was called, in the year 2000, selling cars on the internet, direct, selling direct. And oh man, it was like, first of all, it's 6 days a week, which was just kind of normal. That's what we got to do. It's a startup. We've got a lot to do, lots of work, 6 days a week. And then it started to be from time to time 7 days a week. And because I had like an hour and a half journey to work and an hour and a half journey from work to home, it turned out to being, long days as well. And I kind of did it for a year. And after about that, I was, how old was I at the time? 40. So, 20 years younger. But it just started, it was exhausting me, not even just physically, mentally.
You have to be careful. It wears you down, and it's the mental part, I think, is the worst, because it drives you crazy. So, I mean, I had a bit of that with my previous company, operative 7 days a week. Well, it was successful. We did an exit, but it was so hard work, and I don't recommend anyone to kind of keep on doing that all the time, because you need to kind of balance in some way. It doesn't mean that work goes away during weekends. It does not. But think about the other aspects, because it's not just operative. You need to think about the strategic things, leadership, etc. And that's how I try to balance it.
Yes, I suppose it's a bit like being an EV, isn't it? You've got to get charged up now and again.
Need some charging there, yeah. That is true. Yeah. So and that's, I hope this is charging you a bit too, Roger, and our audience. I hope we get some listeners and watchers to the podcast show also. So
tell me a bit more about your country. I'm fascinated by Finland. People know Norway very well. It's deemed to be the EV capital of the world, of course, and in many ways it is. Sweden has a quite high profile, for many different things, not always the best things, but mostly, good stuff. But people don't know Finland so much, I would suggest. I'm sure many people will say that's wrong, but, if you take companies like, well, just give us a flavor then of where Finland's been and where you are now, and what the role of that country is in now developing a lot of this new mobility and renewable, sustainable focus on things.
Well, but I think that's really important, because as Finns, I mean, I think we are, let's say, very rooted to nature, and you have nature everywhere around, and it's a fantastic landscape and nature, and there's more islands in Finland than in Greece.
Wow,
actually.
Wow.
So. And our company is in the Lake District. It's a fantastic nature around there. But I think also, I mean, being the whatever those ratings are worth, but the happiest nation on the planet, fourth year in a row. We have some of the most sustainable corporates in the world, and so I think it's having your roots to nature. You understand that you have to honor and respect it. Then, of course, I think the boom with Nokia and the wave afterwards, bringing all these tech companies and the let's say, wanting to be practical, finding, let's say, good practical solutions, things. So there's a lot of tech, AI ongoing. It's growing, not just Helsinki and Espoo, but also in other areas like Kuopio, where we are based. We're actually attracting big Finnish tech companies to Kuopio. And actually the Finnish government run a program now with you could become a Finn for 90 days, inviting people from outside applying to stay
Really?
in Finland for 90 days with your startup. Come here and you will stay here. It's like I saw an article on Denso into Automotive. They established a big European operation in Finland due to the quality or knowledge level of people, and now they actually stay there due to the quality of life.
That's really interesting. So what is that 90-day program called? Has it got a name? Is there a website or something?
Yeah, it is. Oh, I need to dig up that. I'll put it as a note to the podcast, because that's interesting. Interesting experiment ongoing.
It's a fantastic experiment. And I think your point is really significant in the focus of the country culturally, and it's your psyche in nature, because there's no doubt now the shift towards all the things to tackle climate change are anchored in circularity. The circular economy, which is essentially copying nature. It's mimicking nature, isn't it? It's ensuring that we reduce waste to an absolute minimum. It's ensuring that we maximize the efficiency of things. It's learning from nature. It's finding circularity in all that we do, which is the natural cycle. So that, this may well be giving you a head start. You're doing okay anyway. You see, to me, why should you lot get another head start? Why can't we give one of these to someone else? You've had enough good stuff. But let's go back to company a moment. You mentioned Nokia. What happened there? Just quickly share that with us, would you please? Because there it was, with these wonderful mobile phones, but not smartphones, of course, at the time. And it was the most significant company in the world in regard to mobile telephones. And then along came Apple and the smartphone. And how come Nokia didn't become like Apple is? What happened there?
But I think Roger, I think it goes back to many examples, Kodak or Sony or whatever. You have the technology adoption cycles that you get to maturity level, and then you just miss out on the next, let's say, where society, business to business or business to customer, it happens something, a technology leap. And suddenly, why didn't Volkswagen or GM come with the EVs? Well, they have tried. But
GM did, but they smashed them all up. Yeah.
All but one. Yeah, all but one. So that's what happens. And I think, well, should we be sorry for that or pity that it happened? I think it's not just negative, because look at how many new Finnish tech companies are flourishing, because all that knowledge from Nokia spread out in around the country in a lot of let's say innovation, etc. So I think there's always a spin-off effect coming out of that. Now it's not Nokia, even though they carry maybe they go a bit in stealth mode, because they're actually, I think they have the most amount of new patents in Finland. So Nokia are not lost; they're just somewhere else. But there's
intriguing.
Watch out for Nokia again, maybe. Yeah,
very intriguing. Oh, right. Maybe that could be the next electric car surprise somewhere. The Nokia EV,
or batteryless or battery free. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Well, who knows? But listen, you are in a fascinating part of the world. You've got 3 neighbors. You've got Russia. You've got Norway. You've got Sweden. That makes for an interesting group of neighbors. There's no doubt about that. Listen, you're making this conversation, whatever it's done for the audience, anyone listening, for me, it's made me think, I want to know about this 90-day thing. I like the sound of that. Great. And it certainly made me think I want to come and spend time in Finland, because I like the outdoors. I have 2 big dogs. I walk a lot. That's how I try and keep fit. And nature. I used to live in Scotland. Scotland's a beautiful country as well.
I absolutely love Scotland.
Yeah. So I think we're on a similar wavelength. And if you don't have a job for the Finnish Tourist Board, I think you'd get one.
We can get one. Okay, let's see how we can work around that, Roger. It's been fantastic talking with you about all these things, and I think probably, let's say maybe we do a second round at some point again, Roger, and let's see if I can. When the world opens up again, we should definitely meet face to face, maybe in Finland, perhaps, and talk.
Well, that's possible, but I'll tell you where we definitely can. We should definitely book a rendezvous in June 2022 in Oslo at EVS 35. So for anyone listening and doesn't know, EVS, Electric Vehicle Symposium, has been running since 1969. It's gone all that time, all around the world. And it's the place where a lot of people meet up in and around the electric vehicle space. Companies come together. You have exhibition, you have papers. It's, you know, a combination of commercial and industrial and university stuff and all of that. I've forgotten what phrase that is now. Anyway, it's a big event. It's in Oslo, June 2022. I know that's not in Finland, but it's not too far away, to be fair. It's only down the road.
Yeah. It sounds good. And it's, and with that bombshell, it's time to say thank you, I would say. Yeah.
So let me try some tack.
Yeah. Tack.
Is that thank you in Finnish? Tack?
Kiitos.
Vitos. Oh, sorry.
Kiitos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kiitos. Right. Okay. Well, there you go. That's my Finnish crushed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Mika. I've enjoyed the conversation too. I hope people listening have. And I'd be happy to do it again sometime. You'll get people like Sandy Monroe on, you know, man, you're getting proper people. Yes, please.
Proper people, yeah. I like yourself. So no, definitely with the June event, I think I'll you can count me in also supporting to get high profile people there.
That's June next year, by the way. Not this year.
Exactly. So and it's good because this year, no way. But I'll support.
No way.
Just reach out. Yeah. I'm also thinking this is a really important event for the future. All right.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mika. See you. Goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.